Okay, now we are 9 people. 10 and a half. So let me open the file. Give me a minute, please. I'll be back soon. Well, tonight we have an interesting class, I think, where we are going to check lots of details, I mean. And the systems. Let me see, can you watch my screen?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, we can see it, teacher.
Okay, perfect. So let me make it bigger and let's start, okay? Because it's a long one. As you can see, there are 89 slides. Of course, there's going to be lots of self-studying and lots of information in order to take attendance and practice at home. If there's any question about it, please let me know tomorrow during the workshop, okay? According to that, let's go ahead. Today, we are going to check, of course, a general view of the respiratory system, heart and circulation, urinary system, and gastrointestinal system, or gastrointestinal tract, the J tract. These slides have the pronunciation. Respiratory system is a network of organs and tissues that help you breathe. It includes your airways, lungs, and blood vessels. The muscles that power your lungs are also part of the respiratory system, of course. These parts work together to move oxygen throughout the body and clean out waste gases like carbon dioxide. These include the nose, throat, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs, also called the respiratory tract. Easy definition, easy to take. Of course, during the medical career, we get this idea. In order to remind all the details we have, in order to practice, we are checking again the vocabulary and the way of expression, okay? We start with our used anatomical review. Of course, from this point, I'm trying to send everything in English for not getting in confusion with Latin. So you can see into the box, for example, here, you have the nose as a general idea. Nasal concha, nasal vestibule. Please check all the details that are into the boxes. And if you consider necessarily, memorize them in order to practice something in this kind of slides. So let's go. More self-study. Another picture. Same instructors with closer instructors, I mean, anatomical just. First, X-rays, chest X-rays in order to check anatomical structures in the normal view, of course. For reminding, for checking, for catching the vocabulary that is described into this kind of information that we are used to check and evaluate. We start, of course, with a normal slide in order to compare with pathological during the workshops or even writing down the case report, of course. And now I have the chart we are used to do, the overview of structures, combining forms and functions of the respiratory system. Checking again the measured structures, and it's for you to start studying the related combining forms and primary functions. Of course, to catch as much as vocabulary as you can, and making a reminder, think about the anatomical definitions and functions that we checked during the school, during the college as the med school. Sinuses with sinus or sinuso, I'm sorry. The pharynx, pharyngo, larynx, laryngo, epiglottis, epiglotte, epiglotto, trachea, tracheo, bronchi, broncho or bronchio, alveoli, alveolo, lungs, pneumo, pneumono, pulmono. Check. The relating combining forms, of course, are showing us how to combine it and get the medical terminology and infer into the definition of the situation. About the word parts, again, we have to check the word root, the suffix in this case, broncho, bronchi, larynx, nas, oxy, oxo, oxy, pharyngo, phono, pluro, nia, pneumo, pneumono or new, pulmo, pulmono, sinus, sinuso, somno, spear or spiro, thorax, thoraco, or trachea, tracheo, trachea. As we have some common names like windpipe, for example, and then checking structures like this. While studying the respiratory system, we have to check some infections to catch ideas about how to talk about. The upper respiratory tract infection, the URTI. So is, well, an infection of your upper respiratory tract, of course. That includes throat, chest, and trachea, or windpipe, as we were checking at the previous slide. This upper portion of your airway is susceptible to many bacterial and viral infections that can cause a range of symptoms with varying degrees of severity. So you can check. We also know that it's very common, very, very, very common, according to the weather, according to the season, according to another kind of pathologies that could be related. Infections and airborne illnesses are easily spread, of course, by contact with other people and often transferred by sneezing or coughing, like COVID-19, of course. We have this idea, we get it in mind, and we Well, I think that everybody got this kind of definition and information through the pandemic time, this pandemic period that's still taking us in care with the COVID-19, the way of spread that kind of infections. In this slide, I'm showing you some symptoms and signs of the RT, like sneezing, chills, headache, sore throat, airborne cold, backache, and snot. Snot, the runny nose, cough, of course, a very common symptom of upper respiratory tract infection of the RT, and lung disease. We know we got cough, we know that it's something into the respiratory system. A cough might be productive, where the patient coughs up sputum, or non-productive, where there is non-sputum. A productive cough is often described as loose, a non-productive cough as dry. The sputum or phlegm may be clear or white mucoid, yellow due to presence of pus, purulent, or blood-stained, as in hemoptysis. So you can check. I mean, in this slide, I'm showing you in black and words all the new vocabulary we must memorize and practice. If we translate into the Spanish, we all know catch the idea, we all know what we are talking about. Just consider that this vocabulary is very important, and during homework I'm going to check, to choose some of these words for practicing. Please try to remember, very important, okay? Now we have dialogues in order to consider that when we talk with our patients, we are not just taking information from the physical exam. We have an interview, a previous interview, and then considering that information, we decide how to start our physical exam, of course. We have an order, we have an organization about how to do it. And according to that information, we can catch, or we can get an idea what is the situation, I mean. I need one volunteer, please. Who wants to read it? Who wants to be the doctor? I'm gonna be Mr. Hamilton. Okay, Jorge, thank you so much. Please turn off your microphone. Turn on, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, so a doctor is examining a patient who is complaining of a cough. How long have you had the cough?
Oh, for years.
Do you smoke?
I used to smoke heavily, but I gave up a year ago.
Do you cough up any phlegm?
Yes.
What color is it?
Usually yellow.
Have you ever noticed any blood in it?
No.
Any problems with your breathing?
Yes, I get very short of breath. I have to stop halfway up the stairs to get my breath back. Thank you, Jorge. So you can see, in black and words, we have some explanations, some expressions like smoke heavily, and some phrasal verbs like give up, cough up. And considering this, we have some symptoms. For example, short of breath, right? And about these expressions, we start practicing and taking, of course, the patient case notes. Do you remember this abbreviation, C/O, dyspnea, and cough? How we know that it's dyspnea? Because the patient is talking about short of breath. Short of breath is the common expression, the patient's expression. We translate it into dyspnea. And cough, of course, the patient is complaining about coughing with phlegm. Complaint or with purulent sputum for years, not hemoptysis. As you can see, we say dyspnea and cough, a purulent cough, a purulent sputum, neuromortitis. The most important ideas from all of this information. So consider this is the first part about taking notes in a patient case. Of course, we are going to practice on this. We are going to work on this from Thursday in the next workshop on the second topic, because we have to finish the model 1 writing down the case report correctly. We have a key for pronunciation, phlegm. You can see phlegm, and it's easy to catch, right? But this is one of the most important ideas we have to catch from these slides. The way we are taking notes. We are not making a list. We are just taking the most important ideas and then considering them into the medical terminology. That's the important fact on this. Just an advice, cover your mouth and you cough, of course. And the characteristic of a note. This slide as a conclusion is just for information, for catching vocabulary and taking the differences while the difference in color, I mean. So consider this for self-studying, catching vocabulary and practicing like this. With phlegm, of course, we have the same situation like a snot. According to the color, we have a possible diagnosis, an idea what is going wrong. And then we can combine both information for making a best analysis and considering that this vocabulary, of course, is going to be helpful for us in order to write down correctly. Go to another situation. Let's talk to the common. The common cold is an infection that affects your entire upper respiratory system. So a virus attaches to the lining of your nose or throat and triggers an immune response. This immune response results in congestion in the local area and leaves your body feeling generally run down as you try to fight it. Most colds are caused by rhinovirus, but other culprits include influenza, parainfluenza, and coronavirus, of course. Again, according to the Black and words, we can catch the new vocabulary to practice. Symptoms of common cold, of course, blocked nose, sneezing, sore throat, dripping mucus from your nose, stuffy feeling, fatigue. And as we were talking in the first slide presentation, and the first one, it's a sickness. That's why we are used to check at-home cold remedies, ways to fight against the common cold. We are not used to take an appointment with the doctor or go to the emergency room. At least we feel the worst, considering the coronavirus situation. But usually we don't go and we just stay at home and consider these remedies, descongestionants, antihistamines, salt water, NSAIDs, plenty of fluids, of course, hot fluids, vapor rub, lots of rest, zinc lozenges, echinacea, warm bath, maybe. It's according to each situation and the experience we have into these experienced ideas. About the auscultation, well, I have to fix this. Auscultation is listening to the sounds of the body during the physical examination. This method is used to listen to the sounds of the body. Of course, we know about it by using the stethoscope. A patient's lungs, heart, and intestines are the most common organs heard during auscultation. We all know about it. We have the chance to practice, to check it into our ideas, and then we can get our diagnosis and physical exam well done, right? Again, the doctor is examining Mr. Hamilton's chest, going ahead with the situation we were talking in the dialogue. Doctor says, take deep breaths in and out throughout your mouth. Good. Now say 99. 99, of course, to prove the resonance, the vocal resonance, okay? When we finish making the physical exam, we have to write down to take some notes, and this is how we do it. OE means on exam, on examination, maybe it depends on your preference, it does not travel. On exam chest, early inspiratory crackles, both lungs bases, plus expiratory wheeze. So you check, we don't describe all the anatomical review we are finding. If there is a normal system, for example, in the abdomen, the GI tract, there is no trouble, we don't have the obligation to write down there. We only write down the positive findings, the pathological findings, I mean, of the system we are focused on. If you have, for example, in the integumentary system, on skin, you have findings, you have to write down all the findings, of course, with medical terms. According, we go ahead, we are going to get more practice about this way of description. But this is the way we use just the findings. For example, if you have a vocal resonance under normal feeling, you don't have to write down to describe it because it's normal. It's indeed, it's supposed, it's normal. That's why it's not written down. But with these details, crackles and expiratory wheeze, it's very important not to lose that kind of details. What do we mean with this? Listening to the chest with the stethoscope may reveal the presence of sounds, of course. Apart the normal sound, breath sounds, we all know about it. There are two main kinds of added sounds, the crackles and the wheezes. Crackles, which sound like hairs being rubbed together and suggest the presence of fluid in the lungs. Here I send you this link, this website, in order to check the crackles, to listen and catch the correct idea. On the other hand, we have the wheezing, the wheezes, which are more musical sounds like wrestling and indicate narrowing of the airways. The sound of asthma patient breathing is also called wheeze. So we can check the wheeze. We catch this idea, right? And the crackles, well, try to put your head together and rub this, you're going to catch the sound. I'm going to send these links to the WhatsApp group at the end of the class in order for you to check and practice. I mean, for the ones that are non-doctors, or maybe the ones that are, until this point, at the med school, we're catching the idea and understanding what we are talking about. Well, very important sound, the pleural rub. This sound is heard when the pleural surfaces are inflamed, as in pleurisy. We all know about it as doctors because we have to practice. And of course, we have the website, the link I'm adding for helping to understand this. And now again, doctor is evaluating Mr. Hamilton. And he asked about the 99, checking the vocal resonance, which may be increased as in pneumonia or decreased as in pneumothorax. We know this idea, we catch this, and we have more details about the vocal tract resonance. Just for information in order to catch the idea and catch vocabulary. Please study, and at the end, don't worry, I'm gonna send all the breath sounds, of course, has patterns to check, to evaluate. And now I'm showing you the vesicular with the duration, expiration, and location, just as an information, not for running crazy. Bronchovesicular, bronchial, and tracheal. When you catch the difference of this, of course, auscultation is the best. Self-study, please. Don't miss this information because this vocabulary is a key to catch the most important ideas in the respiratory system. Now we have the abnormal breathing sounds. Again, self-study, please check how it is done. I'm not worried about the frequency or the phase or the anatomical or the technical details about the characteristics of the sounds. I want you to check, to understand what are the lightened words mean, and you catch your own definition, the way you understand this. You got the stridor, ronchi, pleural friction rib, crackles, rails could be, wheezes, squawk. Check all of this, check the most important vocabulary, and it's going to be easier to understand the job we are going to develop in homework, of course. So now we have respiratory patterns and causes. Again, information slide, but very important because according to the respiratory patterns, as doctors, we know that we catch an idea what is going wrong with our patient, what is failing, and how we can help the patient in order to solve this, how we can send the treatment for improving or avoiding the pathological situation, or maybe just making a control. Dyspnea, hyperpnea, Kussmaul, hypopnea, ataxic, biot, Cheyne-Stokes, air trapping, obstructive, singing, apneusic, agonal, apnea. In the second column, you have all the probable causes about it. Information, check this, check how it is written down. Very helpful, I think. And you have the fonts where it's coming from, the website. Now, the chart I was showing, the respiratory system, the most general ones, according to the lung diseases, upper respiratory diseases, pharynx and larynx, trachea and bronchi, pleural cavity. Please check this information, how it is written down, how we must consider the classification maybe, or for example, in the COPD, which pathological situations are involved in this situation. Or maybe the abbreviations they are using, because these abbreviations are the key for start writing down. We have a second chart, pneumonia, considering lots of variables, interstitial lung disease, environmental and interstitial lung disease, genetic disorders, lack of oxygen. Take this in account, okay? And practice, let's practice. Again, just for information, this one too, we have different ways to check the pathological situations into the lung for catching an idea or for not losing the definition. Again, a new one talking about the emphysema at this point. And this is one of the most important slides that we are going to use, the abbreviations related to the respiratory system specifically. In one column, this first one, we have the complete term and the abbreviation. In the opposite, we have the abbreviation, the same as in the first, at the beginning, and then how it is understood. So don't worry, both of them are the same. Just catch that we must study from this point. The acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, very, very, very common abbreviation. Chronic bronchitis, PR, check the difference between the capital letter, and then we don't must getting confusion with this. This is the official abbreviation that we can find in books, in articles, in reviews, maybe. And then it's for helping us understand. And the rest of the information is the same. Please check of this. Of course, there are not all the situations because there's too much information, but this detail is going to help us in order to get the most important ideas at this point. While as soon as we are going ahead through the time, we are going to catch more and more abbreviations in order to get more for us. Now let's go to the heart and circulation, the cardiovascular system. Of course, there's a lot of information with this. And well, we have to take it in account. We have to consider that just one class, it's not enough to talk about it, to talk about all the information. It's evolving. So let's try to make our best and consider this. Okay, just a general, very general view, trying to get the most important information. The circulatory system is made up of blood vessels that carry blood away from and toward the heart. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, and veins carry blood back to the heart. The circulatory system carries oxygen, nutrients, and hormones to cells and removes waste products like carbon dioxide. Of course, we know about it. Please check the expressions on blackened words. The heart anatomy review. We have lots of slides with this, of course, for self-studying, like the red back is showing us. So check this, practice on this. Again, almost all of this information is in English, just not in Latin. I don't want to make a mess. Check the anatomical details, please. Here are the most important that I consider necessary at this point. And, well, let's go ahead. Practice anatomical details, of course, are for reading, for memorizing, and I don't see an objective to read it at this point. We have the blood flow through the heart. So just some physiological details, maybe for information, for catching vocabulary. Read this just for catching vocabulary. I'm not going to consider this slide specifically into homework, but for understanding the way of expression, I consider it's important. Again, consider this figure because it's showing us the systemic pulmonary blood circulation for self-studying. I'm trying to use the description in the previous slide to combine with this slide. More anatomical reviews with the most important vessels, arteries and veins. Check this, self-studying. More arteries, self-studying, don't worry about it. Arteries and veins, the most important that I found. Again, more details just for combining, for comparing. Okay, practice on them. And now we have the overview of structures and everything we are talking about. Major structures, heart, with the related combining form, cardio, blood vessels, angio, vaso, arteries, arterio, capillaries, capillo, veins, phlevo or veno, blood, hemo or hemato. So let's go ahead. The word parts, angi or angio, aorto, artery, arterio, atero, brady, cardio, crasia, hemia, eritro, similar to Spanish, hemo, hemato, leuco, phlevo, trachy, thrombo, ven or veno. Check this and of course the meaning for practicing. One of the most important symptoms for respiratory tract and cardiovascular system, shortness of breath. We all know about it. We have this idea well done. It has to be printed in our brain, of course, and it has synonyms. Shortness of breath or breathlessness in medical terminology, dyspnea. Patients can use this expression, shortness of breath or breathlessness. According to the situation, they choose which one is the best. And we have to write down dyspnea for making the correct translation. At first, this is caused by exertion, physical activities such as climbing stairs, but in severe cases, it may be present even at rest. Of course, we all know about it. A patient who is breathless when lying flat in orthopnea, for example, in bed, will tend to sleep raised up on 2 or more pillows. The abbreviation SOBO, very common, stands for shortness of breath on exercise, on exertion, or on effort. Consider this. If you read SOBO, now we catch that there's a kind of shortness of breath without, well, in exercise, exertion, or effort, just for making this clear idea. Usually, patient says, I get terribly shortness of breath climbing stairs. I get terribly shortness of breath walking. I get terribly short of breath lying in bed. According to the situation, we are inferring the pathological situation, right? About the heart rhythm, we must consider this, beats per minute. And this is the abbreviation, BPM, beats per minute. In athletes, it may be as low as 40 beats per minute. In extreme athletic activity, the heart rate can go as high as 200, and the heart rhythm may be regular or irregular. Let's check this detail. We have this idea, beats per minute. First abbreviation, or we can write down all the expression, or we can use the other way of expression. 3 ways to show the same idea. Don't miss this information because it's important in order to write down properly. Again, we have the normal heart sounds and abnormal heart sounds, just as an information for catching vocabulary and making our mind of these ideas. Physiological and physiopathological. Just an information slide for doctors. And now, in an irregular rhythm, arrhythmia, there may be early beats which interrupt the regular rhythm, the premeter beats, or the rhythm may vary with respiration, or it may be completely irregular, as in fibrillation. When patients are aware of irregularity, they describe the symptom as palpitations. Patients, usually Americans and England, well, people who speak English, they are not going to tell you, I'm coming with arrhythmia, because it's the same. They don't have maybe all the medical vocabulary in their normal vocabulary. That's why they say palpitations in order to show that something is wrong. The same as in the Spanish. In Spanish, people come, well, patients come and tell us in the emergency room, I feel palpitations, I feel shortness of breath, I feel something is wrong, I feel wet, I feel cold, I feel strange. They have lots of expressions. While talking to the patient, we have to write down using the correct expressions that in this case are in parentheses, and of course, fibrillation, just med translation, right? This is a clinical case, the first one. And we have this situation. A 22-year-old student with a long history of heart problems. He had been increasingly tired with shortness of breath on exertion, so orthopnea and palpitations. A mitral valve replacement had been carried out 3 years previously, and this had stabilized the symptoms of heart failure, but was followed by episodes by attacks of atrial fibrillation, which had been particularly severe for the 6 months before admission. So you can get it from the artificial replacement. In that situation, again, check the black and white just. About the heart disease, we have some common symptoms in general. Again, shortness of breath, chest pain, nausea, vomiting, anxiety, sweating, dizziness. So consider this information. That it occurs when the heart is unable to maintain sufficient cardiac output, the amount of blood pumped by the heart each minute for the body's needs. It may involve the just is that. And we have this chart for showing the left heart failure, and main symptom is breathlessness, just for catching the idea, for making a remind, information slides. And the right heart failure includes peripheral edema, the swelling, beginning on feet and ankles, that is the pitting edema. And when a finger is pressed into the swelling, it causes a small depression or pit. That's why pitting edema related to pit. We all know about it. The picture is for information, for making a remind, and maybe catching some words in order to organize ideas, and catching more vocabulary, of course. About examining the heart and circulation, we have some symptoms and signs to check. For example, look at the lips, tongue, and nails for the blue discoloration of cyanosis. We all know about it. Cyanosis is very, very important symptom finding. Cyanosis may be central or peripheral. You can see some examples. Of course, in babies are easy to catch. That's why I decided to send them. We have to inspect the hands for clubbing. Clubbing is the shape that nails are acquiring according to the cardiovascular situation. We all know about it, the causes of clubbing, but the clubbed fingers, it's a prodromal symptom. We all know about it. Okay, another detail, feel the radial pulse at the wrist and note the rate, for example, 70 per minute, and rhythm, regular or irregular. The pulse may be irregular in force as well as time. Check that the other peripheral pulses are present, and we have where are located the rest of the pulse points. We have the description here, and the pulse point says that start from head to toe always, and it's easy to check this. While practice, we get all of this information. About the measure the blood pressure, the BP, and assess the jugular venous pressure, JVP. Okay, check all of the slides, check all the abbreviations that we are finding on the slides. We are going to work with abbreviations from this point. Palpate the chest for the apex beat. The normal position is the fifth left intercostal space, 1 centimeter medial to the mid-clavicular line. We all know about it. Heart size, we all know about it. We get this idea, we know where we have to make this percussion, how to do it. Just check the anatomical details, the description of the lines for catching what we are talking about. Feel for any trills, of course, while listening, and listen for murmurs and other abnormal sounds. For example, friction rubs, beginning at the mitral area. Murmurs may be soft or loud. A harsh murmur is loud and raw. Catch the idea? During the med school, we got all of these ideas. Just we are translating to the medical term in English. And we have these acronyms, the aim to men to remind. The order will we auscultate: aortic valve, pulmonary valve, Erb's point, tricuspid valve, mitral valve. Just for making a review. And now the pathologies of the cardiovascular system. Again, I'm making you this recommendation. Check the abbreviations and the way how we have in this way the heart, blood vessels, abnormalities. Well, this is thrombosis and embolisms, peripheral and vascular diseases, hypertension. And now again, abbreviations considering just to the cardiovascular system. Of course, they can become combined by the respiratory system with the cardiovascular system to catch for meaning for practicing. The same order, they are just the most common, the most important that at this point I consider that are the most common, again, I say, just for catching an idea. And all of them are international. So while you read and you find one of these, now you know what it's talking about. Of course, could be similar in another topic, in another system, but according to the context, of course, we catch the meaning. Please check all of this. Very common, for example, electrocardiogram, EKG or ECG, we are talking about it, or HTN, we are talking about it. There's no new. There's not something that we are not on information at this point. About the urinary system, is to filter blood and create urine as a waste byproduct. The organs of the urinary system include the kidneys, renal pelvis, ureters, bladder, and urethra. We have the anatomical review. A general view of this here. Please check all of this, practice on this. We have details of the bladder. More details and differences between a cross-section between female and male systems, urinary systems. Consider these differences and the vocabulary that is in there. And now the overview. The overview is talking about major structures, for example, kidneys, the related combining forms, nephro or reno, renal pelvis, PLO, urine, uro, urino, ureters, ureter, urinary bladder, cysto, urethra, urethro, prostate, prostato. Primary function is for checking at home, catching vocabulary and expressions, of course. And now the word parts. The suffix cele, cyst or cysto. The prefix dia. Suffix ectasis. Glomerulo. Lito. Again, suffix lysis or lysis according to the word root. Again, nephro. Again, suffix pexi. PLO. Again, suffix tripsy. Uro. Ureter. Urethro. Urea. Again, a suffix. So consider this for practicing. And now we have urinary symptoms to describe in a dialogue. Please, I need 2 volunteers different from Jorge and the other one, the doctor. If you don't come, I'm going to call 2 people. Okay. Abigail Mena, perfect. You're going to be the doctor. And perfect. Hilda, you're going to be Mr. Jones, okay? Please, let's go ahead. I'm going to listen to.
Are you having any
Go ahead, please.
trouble? Are you having any trouble with your weather works?
Well, I just seem to have to go to the toilet more often than I used to.
For Abigail. I'm sorry, we cannot listen to you. Can you start again, please?
Teacher, can you listen now?
Yes, now I can listen. But while reading, I can listen to you, Abigail. But Jill, I cannot listen to you. Okay, perfect. Let's read again, please.
Okay.
Okay, teacher. Are you having any trouble with your waterworks?
Well, I do seem to have to go to the toilet more often than I used to.
How often is that?
It depends, but sometimes it's every hour or even more often.
What about at night? Do you have to get up at night?
Yes, nearly always 2 or 3 times.
Do you get any burning or pain when you pass water?
No, not usually.
Do you have any trouble getting started?
No.
Is the stream normal? I mean, is there still a good strong flow?
Perhaps not quite so good as it used to be.
Do you ever lose control of your bladder? Any leaking or dribbling?
Well, perhaps a little reading from time to time.
Have you ever passed blood in the urine?
No, never.
Okay, thank you so much, you both. Thanks for your participation. So you can see, during the blackened words, you're checked to consider specific information with our patient. And of course, the stream, if it's normal or not. Consider a pathological situation. A very important expression, lose control of your bladder, could be, and specific symptoms, leaking or dribbling of the flow of urine or past blood, in order to consider this information. Read it at home again, try to find all the information of this, or past water, this expression we were talking in the first slide presentation a week ago, I think. And then patient. This is the way we start practicing how to catch the ideas. Common symptoms, very important. Of course, I'm going to ask about it during homework. We talk about frequency, frequent passing of urine, dysuria, burning or scalding pain in urethra when passing urine, nocturia, urination at night, urgency, I'm sorry, my internet failed a little bit. I think because my sister is working at the same time. Let me share again the screen. Please let me know when you watch it. Okay.
We can see it.
Can you watch this? Okay, perfect. Again, we were talking about frequency, dysuria, nocturia, urgency, right? And I'm sorry, can you listen to me?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, my internet is failing a little bit, but I'm going to correct it for the next class for tomorrow. Urgent need to pass urine, hesitancy, difficulty starting to pass urine, urinary incontinence, involuntary passing of urine, hematuria, macroscopic blood in the urine. That's 7 most common symptoms, just for start our way of working, okay? Again, we have the UTI, urinary tract infection, the common symptoms. Muddy urine, when it's too concentrated and it looks, it's not clear, I mean, urination, abdominal pain, bad smell of urine, fever, feeling unwell, burning when urinating. Okay, check all of this. And now I have one of the most important words, one of the most important labs that we check with our patients, the urinalysis or analysis of urine. Both of them ways of expressions are common. Choose the best for you, the one you like the most. There's no trouble. If you say urinalysis, or if it's a simple screening test of the urine, are carried out with reagent strips. More detailed tests are carried out in laboratory on a specimen of urine. Typical specimens are a midstream specimen, MSU, very common abbreviation, and catheter specimen, CSU, catheter specimen of urine, midstream specimen of urine, that's the U, okay? Microscopic examination may reveal the presence of red blood cells, pus cells, or casts. Casts are solid bodies formed by proteins or cells. We all know about it. Plus signs are used in case notes to indicate abnormal findings. For example, a small amount, 1+, is described as traits. For a large amount, 3+. The word gross or marked can be used in the lab report, okay? When there is nothing, the word is nil. It's a very common expression, not just for urinalysis, for any other laboratory test like this. If there is nothing in the findings, nothing important, nil, okay, nothing. Nothing found, it means. Now the urinary tract infection, the UTA, okay, we have to check this. The pyelonephritis, the kidney infection, the ureter infection, cystitis, bladder infection, urethritis, urethra infection, prostatitis, male, prostate infection. Okay, and we have the bacteria travel up to urethra that we'll know about it just for making a review, okay, for practicing. And now we have the chart for practicing how to write down the pathology of the urinary system as a general view. Of course, there are more situations, but the most common that I consider important at this point are like this: from stones, from ureters, from prostate gland, the urinary bladder, urethra. Check all of this. Urinary bladder is considered the neurogenic bladder, of course, and according to that, it can be evolved into the central nervous system and peripheral system, according to the situation. That's why you are going to find it in both systems, okay? Urinary tract infections, problems during urination, and incontinence. Okay, just check this, check how it is written down, and questions about pronunciation, we can check it. And more abbreviations, of course. These abbreviations, as I was telling you, are international. Some of them are used into the Spanish vocabulary. Could be. Please study all of this, practice on this. We are going to make exercises on this week during our homework. And now we have the gastrointestinal tract. We have here the pronunciation in order, right? And there are the organs that food and liquids travel through when they are swallowed, digested, absorbed. I'm sorry for this situation. It's not, well, it's out of my hands at this point. Let me share again the screen. Okay, please let me know when you can watch my screen. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Anna. Again, the gastrointestinal tract is the one where the organs that food and liquids travel through when they are swallowed, digested, absorbed, and leave the body as feces. These organs include the mouth, pharynx, throat, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. This is the first anatomical review. Please check on this, practice, and well, we must memorize. It's important. There is no other way for catching the ideas, the vocabulary. We have, again, the same structure. We have the general idea, oral cavity, teeth, and tongue, and now the function with all of these structures as a group, how they work together, the objective of being together. For example, with the liver, with the gallbladder, and everything that is important into the system. Looking at the red guy, it's for self-study. We are going to practice on this. Please check the vocabulary, and according to this information, we can talk properly with our patients, with our colleagues. About the structures, the tongue and the oral cavity, we have details. For example, the gum or gingiva. Gingiva is the correct medical term. Gum is the common term, the social term. I don't know why this book is showing it in the opposite position, but gingiva, please, we are going to use during the med information, okay? The rest, please check all of this. And we have the structures of the stomach as a general view, of course, not in extreme details, because it's not the objective to make a very deep anatomical review. We don't have that. That opportunity could be said because of the time. Now we have the accessory digestive organs, the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Please check all of this. We are going to keep on working on this. And we have the 9 regions and 4 quadrants of the abdomen with the correct way of writing down, and the abbreviations that are very used, very common while talking, okay, while evaluating and making our report. Usually we use these structures, the French school, in order to write down the med report. At least we consider this as as most important. In that case, the only ones that go with abbreviations are that consider 3 words. For example, right iliac region, 3 words, R-I-R, right? For example, this L-I-R, left iliac region. If there are 2 words like umbilical region, UR, it's not allowed as an abbreviation. From 3 words and ahead could be according to the report you are preparing, not for everything. We are going to catch the difference during the workshop when we talk about the case report and the physical exam. The structures, the major structures in this case, and the related combining forms are for mouth, oro, stomato, pharynx, pharyngo, esophagus, esophagus or intro, large intestine, colon, colono, rectum and anus, ano, procto, recto, for liver, gallbladder, cholecysto, pancreas, pancreat or pancreato. Please, check the primary functions, it's for you, and the word parts. And ano, cole, cholecysto, colo, colono, the suffix mesis, entero, again suffix lithiasis, pipsia, phagia, procto, recto, sigmoids or sigmoido. Okay, check the meanings, it's for you. And now we have the examination of the abdomen. Of course, here we combine the 4 techniques we are available to do it. We practice and we learn about it. And well, first of all, we have the general inspection, when we have to catch if the abdomen is distended by fluid or gas, maybe. We check the main characteristic of this. Then we make the auscultation. We listen for the vowel sounds. Vowel, as we were talking in the first presentation, you remember, is the synonym of intestine. The vowel movement to evaluate by checking this. Then we make the percussion. The percussion, we percuss the abdomen to get if there is the presence of fluid, and it can be confirmed by demonstrating shifting dullness. Percuss or tap first where the patient lies in supine, flatten their back, then ask the patient to lie on one side and percuss again. If fluid is present, that will not hurt on percussion moves. We know this, we catch this idea just for making our mind, we are describing this. Then we have the palpation. We palpate this region, feeling of tenderness, pain when touched or mass is palpable, enlargement of tissue. Not also any wording or rigidity. shown by contraction of the abdomen muscles. Muscles, of course, these situations, wording or rigidity. Wording may be due to tenderness or anxiety and can be reduced if patient is persuaded to relax. Rigidity is due to peritoneal irritation, pain when the palpating hand is suddenly removed. It's a sign of peritonitis. We all know about it, just for this idea. Important point of evaluation during the medical evaluation could be said. And there are several words for pieces for describing this, for making the idea. Why did we don't just say feces? Because they can, it can be considered an offensive expression for some cultures, for example, Hindi people and the Black community. That's why we use synonyms. At this point, doctors sometimes says there was blood in the stools. Stools is the first synonym of feces. Or maybe we can ask for, and we can say, have you passed black stools? You can see stools doesn't sound as clear, I think, as feces, but of course they are synonyms. And patients can say, my motions have been very loose lately. Motion is another synonym of feces. So consider this and try to use these three expressions: stool, motions, and feces. At this point of movement, verification. How your bowels move today? Have you had bowel movement? We got the idea how the patient is going to the bath, of course. And now let's consider the bowel habit. It's a medical expression meaning the pattern of defecation. Have you noticed any change of your bowel habit? How often do you open your bowels? How often do you go to the bathroom? How often do you go to the toilet? Are you going to the toilet more often than normal? So you can check. There are different ways to ask for this kind of information without being offensive to the patient. Let's consider this. We have the Bristol stool from scale. Just for checking the characteristic, it's an information picture. But we have to check this idea. Change in bowel habit could be constipation, hard, infrequent stools, or diarrhea, frequent soft or liquid stools. Normal stools are brown in color and semi-solid or formed. Okay, or formed. The consistency or degree of, and according to this description, you're going to catch the correct vocabulary and expression of this. For example, type 1, this picture is true, of course. The lumpy and sausage-like, sausage with cracks, like a smooth, soft sausage or snake. Soft blobs with clear-cut edges. Mushy consistency with ragged edges. Liquid consistency with non-solid pieces. According to this description, we know if the patient is in constipation or in diarrhea or in the normal stool. Okay. According to the color, we have another scale. And the color can vary from black due to an altered blood as in melena, to yellow, gray, or even white. Melena stools are often described as tarry. Tarry is the commonest way of talking about melena. And it's like tar, the black sticky substance that is used in road making. The stools may be red when fresh blood is present. Blood can only be detected with a special test, the fecal occult blood, FOB. When there is a high fat content, stools are pale and are sometimes described as clay-colored. The stools that are large in volume are described as bulky, and bad smell is described as foul or offensive. So now you catch this idea. The tarry, bloody could be said, clay-colored, bulky, and, well, the bad smell, foul, or offensive. Offensive is the most common. According to the system, considering the anatomical structure that it's evolved, the oral cavity, the esophagus, stomach, intestinal disorder, and let's practice on this. As I was telling you, some of them look the same as in Spanish than in English, or have the same words in a different order. That's important to take it in account, but just for translation. And let's read. I know it's a lot of information, it's a lot of details to check. There's a lot of vocabulary to consider, but it's important. It's important, please, and let's work. Let's work together. And as you know, tomorrow we have the workshop from this slide presentation. Try to check all of the information I'm sending now. And don't worry, I'm here for helping you. And as always, if there is no time during the workshop or do you have an extra activity, please let me know that you are not attending. And according to that, I can give you all of the answers by the WhatsApp. Okay. Okay. Can you watch the pool? No. Okay. Can you watch the pool now?
Yes, teacher.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Please start answering, and the ones who feel this can leave. There's no trouble. According to the pool, I'm taking attendance.
Thank you, teacher. Have a good night.
Okay, have a good night. You're welcome. Anything you need, please send me a message.
Good night, teacher.
Good night. Bye, bye, everybody.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, bye. Yes, perfect. Yeah, simply. Well, at this point, everything is done. 17. Somebody left. I don't know who's the one that is leaving, but I'm going to write down to the group. Well, everything is done. Stop sharing. So, according to that,